Hello everyone, it is Monday, March 9th. Welcome to this edition of the DL Sportscast, coming back with a Monday through Friday style format. My voice feels so much better. I hope I warmed it up because I'm going to need it because, to put it in 3 words, I fucked up. I only got one prediction right. So, thank you, Winthrop. This dollar is for them. I can't be mad about a couple of these, though. I mean, the Utah State Aggies, I am mad, but not mad. I'm mad because that's a big bid steal right there, because they were right there on the border, and them winning this conference championship takes away a potential, well, no, it doesn't even take away a potential. It takes away a bid for sure from some of these other teams that are fighting for it, a la Cincinnati, UCLA, Texas, Xavier, and we'll get into those because this entire show today is dedicated to this upcoming week's conference championships. Tomorrow we'll go over some of the news on some of the other things, but for today, we are doing a conference championship preview. With all the big conferences, we'll talk about some of these smaller conferences, who should be in. And when we go into the bigger conferences, we'll just sort of go through their seedings and teams that are locked or potential bid stealers for that. But first, I owe spins. We got to do it. So, when I say I fucked up, also, I need to bring up the fact that I made a serious error when I was doing the Missouri Valley. Last week on Saturday morning when I recorded that video, I misread the bracket. I thought Indiana State was still alive. Turns out they were beaten, I believe, by Missouri State. So, I get that wrong, obviously. Bradley ends up winning there against Valparaiso. I mean, Valparaiso had a pretty magical run there. So, we'll go into that. We'll do that spin first, just because I know I fucked that one up. And that one's on me. That one's on me entirely. It's a shame that conference championship game wasn't so good. If you can see, I'm going to leave it down here just so the glare doesn't kind of get in the way of it. So let's see what we get for this first spin. This is either going to be a really painful day or a really, what's the dark blue? The purple. It's purple. So that's Lucky Dog. Lucky Dog, where are you? All right. The Lucky Dog sauce is the first one today, and this one is for the Missouri Valley. Congrats to Bradley. I'm disappointed in myself for misreading that bracket. I royally screwed that one up, and it's on me completely. So I was kind of thinking that just based on how my luck is, I was probably going to spin Beyond Insanity for this one. So Missouri Valley, I apologize for not reading your bracket thoroughly. And congrats to Bradley on going to the big dance. I love the hint of pineapple in this one. This one. Ooh. You see, I find that one to be pretty spicy. I mean, let's be fair. The reason why I consider this a punishment is based on the fact that I don't handle spicy especially well. Although the more and more I do this, we'll see. And, as I announced on Saturday, I bought a Battle of the Last Dab XXX. And therefore, we will be doing a special charity event. There will be 6 spots on the wheel with the Last Dab XXX. 6 spots for $5 donations plus 2 special $10 donation slots. And it'll go directly to the Indy FurCon charity when we're done with them. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to raising some money. Okay, let's talk about my Saturday after a recording, because that was a wild, wild, wild day of college basketball. Duke UNC. I mean, it was a big physical game. I love watching those games. Duke won. UNC. When we go into the conference tournament, we'll talk about what I think about what UNC could be in that tournament. But I gotta say though, there were 2 conference championships games. The first 2 tickets punched, and so much hype. Now again, Utah State. I'm happy for you. I like that win, and I've been talking about how kind of pedestrian their ball is. They've really picked it up lately. They have this really fantastic shooter. His name is Sam Merrill. Guy has a beautiful stroke, and they have this big guy named what is his last name? Kada, I believe. Big. Strong presence down low. So that locks them in. Gotta say, though, I mean, great game. San Diego State looked like they were going to pull away early, and Utah State just didn't go away. And then it was a tied game, and Sam Merrill drills a deep 3 with about a second left, half a second left. I mean, I love games like this. Championship week is so much fun. We're getting into these basketball games, which are 1 versus 2, or all these well-seeded teams that are now playing each other in conference tournaments. And the games, for the most part, have been fantastic. Unfortunately, I picked San Diego State, so I do have to spin. But I also would like to give a shout-out a little bit here. I know we're going to talk about tournament teams later, and I know I'm a little bit of a homer here. How about the Cincinnati-Temple game and that Butler-Xavier game? I mean, senior day in Cincinnati for 2 teams, and one game was so back and forth, and that was Butler and Xavier. It could very well be that Xavier is out because of that loss. And, I mean, that was so heartbreaking. But I got to say, Cincinnati got down huge in the first half. Couldn't make a shot. Was down 17 at the half. And they just... Cardiac cats, man. They just chip away and chip away and chip away. And, the guy who was so impressive in that game was a young man by the name of Mamadou Diarra. And he is quickly becoming... I love Jaron Cumberland. This year it's all about Trey Scott for me. Next year's team... Really excited for Mamadou Diarra. He has developed so well this year, and I'm so excited to see what he brings to the table next year for Cincinnati. But in the end, it was a putback. Cincinnati's up 2. Are we going to potentially, have another one of those overtime games that they're so famous for this year? No, because Temple goes down and makes 3 with 11 seconds left. Here we go again. Cincinnati's going to lose a game in a must-win situation. They're down 1. Jaron Cumberland, I think it was Javon, actually. Javon Cumberland all the way down the floor, misses the shot. Senior Trayvon Scott right there for the putback. Cincinnati wins a must-win game, and thanks to the Tulsa loss to Wichita yesterday, they get the 1 seed. We'll analyze that later. But, again, back to the Utah State game. That win steals a bid from one of those 2 teams. As far as teams in the tournament, I really do think that if you're looking at large bids, before Saturday, Xavier was last 4 in, Cincinnati was first 4 out. I think those games flip it. Outside of that, let's spin the wheel for Utah State. I mean, I can't be mad. That game was so fantastic. I don't mind having to spin the wheel on a fantastic game in a 1 versus 2 seed. Fuck! Oh, no. Now I'm... Okay, you know what? Screw you, San Diego State. Oh, you just made me spin the bomb beyond insanity. And I still have 2 more to go. Fuck. Oh, well. Let's get this over with. God damn it. Oh, it's so on fire. Oh, and it's thick. I hope it doesn't just glop out here. Oh, I'm so not looking forward to this. This is going to be painful. It's not coming out. It's so thick. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you put it on the wheel, you knew it was going to come eventually. Oh, come on, get out of the bottle. I don't want to completely, glop this too bad. I need a little bit. Come on. All right. Come on. It's so thick, it's not coming out. Oh, come on. I just need a little dab of it, man. Give me a dab of this. Alright, I got some. Alright, I got some. It's probably going to be I got some. I decided to sort of dip it. Okay, there it comes. Alright, a little more. Alright. I put it on the end, so. I mean, it's not much. I wasn't able to get a bunch of it out. I probably need to let these not be completely at room temperature. San Diego State. Utah State. You stole a bid and my stomach lining. Oh. Oh, God. I still have 2 more of these to go. I don't know how the Hot Ones guys do a full wing of that. That was awful. Oh, my God, that hurts. And I still have to do a full show. Oh, dear. Oh, it burns. Oh. All right. I can recover from this. I will recover from this. Okay. Next up, we have to go to the Ohio Valley Conference. And again, this is a game I got wrong. And I'm not mad that I got it wrong, except that I'm probably going to spin the same sauce again. Which, I think I came prepared, though. I came very prepared for this. Okay. So I picked an upset here. I said that Murray State was going to beat Belmont. And it almost happened. I mean, neither team got... I think the biggest lead was Belmont by 8. And Murray State kept coming back. When Murray State was up, they were never up more than 3 or 4, I think. I mean, it's one of those games where you just are riveted. And I actually got frustrated enough at the Cincinnati game that I kind of started paying attention more to this game. And I'm awfully glad that this game ended when it did, because I caught the end of the Cincinnati game just in time. But this game right here, Belmont and Murray State, instant small school classic. A lot of people think that Belmont is going to be one of the better teams to pull off an upset. From that standpoint, I get it. It's cool. It's a great pick, but man, that Murray State game. Murray State was up 1, and with 9 seconds left, it was up 1 with 9 seconds left. Belmont calls a timeout, and I've never seen this. If I have seen this, I don't remember when it was, but Belmont called a timeout with 9 seconds left so that they could set up a play. The moment they hit the floor, Murray State also called a timeout to set their defense, which led to Belmont calling another timeout to reset the offense. And from that point, they made a very nice play, a nice feed down low, easy layup, and a win for them in the Ohio Valley Finals. again, I'm not going to be mad about having to spin on such a great game, as long as it's not the same sauce twice here. Alright, it's past the bomb. It looks like we got Lucky Dog again. Cool. I'm okay with this. And then we have one that I'm a little disappointed in, and that would be the Atlantic Sun. I thought that experience was going to play a big role here for the Lipscomb Bisons, although I didn't realize that it's my own fault for also not 100% realizing that Liberty is going for the second straight year. It's really weird. I thought Liberty was in a different conference, though, so I had no real clue. But, congrats to Liberty there. But first, Belmont, welcome to the tournament. Enjoy it. Maybe you'll get a good seed. Maybe you'll get a good matchup. Maybe you'll pull off an upset. Murray State, no shame in losing that. Instant classic. I don't think you're an at-large team, but I think you're an NIT squad. That just tastes like a pineapple salsa after you've had the bomb. This is one that I'm a little madder about, too, because the game wasn't as fantastic. Liberty just blew them out of the water, so I'm just gonna spin the wheel and not say much more about that because it just wasn't that fantastic of a game. Ooh, are we gonna do the hottest sauce in the hottest college in America? I call it the Bearcat sauce because it's got my lovely little Cincinnati Bearcat logo. Again, not much more than a Tabasco, really, so we'll just get it all set up. And there really isn't much more to say about that. I mean, Liberty blew them out. Alright, well, that means I still haven't spun the Insanity or the Charity spot. I almost got the Charity spot. It actually almost made it to that spot. Alright, so that's my punishment pickup. Oh, I'm lucky I didn't get more of that bomb, otherwise it would have been really bad. But that's going to bring our total to for the IFC Charity, and I only say that because I'm not 100% sure if we're using the same one again this year, to 14, with many chances to go up on the horizon because with the exception of championships later, these are going to just cost the regular predictions, and because there's going to be a lot of them in my ending credits, I'm not going to put up as many scores, maybe until the championships themselves, just because there's a lot of games. I'm just going to pick winners, and we'll go from there. Now, we do have one final tonight. We have the SoCon, the Southern Athletic Conference, and this is an important game. Actually, you know what? This is a very important game. Eastern Tennessee State is the 1 seed overall in this tournament. Wofford is a 7. This is a very, very, very important game for bubble teams. Eastern Tennessee State, if they win, they're in. That's it. One bid league. If Wofford wins, there are very big arguments that Eastern Tennessee State, if they lose this game, would be an at-large team based on a very strong conference record, plus they won a game at LSU earlier this year, and LSU is going to be a tournament team. So that's a key win. I don't think they might have some key losses. We'll have to look at that later. But as long as Eastern Tennessee State wins this game, no bid stolen. I would have been a little more worried if Furman had come along. They did not, so Wofford picks up the upset win in their first round against Furman, and you would you would think that Eastern Tennessee State would blow them out, but one never can tell. And Wofford has a history of being very, very pesky. I know it's not the same team as a few years ago, but I remember a few years ago when Wofford went into North Carolina, when North Carolina had this big, massive non-conference winning streak, snapped that, and it wasn't even close. There was a game where Wofford legit blew out North Carolina at North Carolina. North Carolina came back the next year and actually played at Wofford and beat the piss out of them. But that's tonight's final. We will make a prediction now. I'm going to make a prediction now on this game. I'm going to take Eastern Tennessee State to beat Wofford. We'll go away from that there. So that's tonight's final. So let's go down to. We're gonna go down to the big conferences. We'll do the finals of the other conferences, the smaller conferences. This is all about the bigger conferences. Although I will include the West Coast right now. The West Coast bracket is already filling out a little bit. So we have the semifinals. I believe those are tonight. The semifinals are not entirely surprising, actually. We have Gonzaga as the 1 versus San Francisco, who is the 5. San Francisco was the 5 seed there. They beat Pacific, 4 or 5 games. They go either way. Take Gonzaga to win that one. And then BYU plays St. Mary's. Again, the only other 2 teams that really ever beat Gonzaga in that conference are playing each other. Thank God. Thank God St. Mary's beat Pepperdine. Screw you, Pepperdine. Okay. So I'm going to take St. Mary's to beat BYU. And that's 3 predictions. We'll do one more. These are not for spins. These are just for money. So we have Eastern Tennessee State. We have Gonzaga. We have BYU. All right. Patriot League. America East. Go Vermont. Game tomorrow. Let's see. All right. Big 12 starts on the 11th. This is where we start getting into major conferences with big bid-stealing implications. All right, so in the first round, wow, is there not other teams playing? Is there only one first-round game? What is this? Huh. I has confusion. Aren't there more teams to play in this? Is TCU not part of this? Do they only pull the top 9? Because TCU should be there, and I don't see them. Interesting. Is it because there's only 10 teams and they need to find a way to... That's interesting. I'm looking at the Big 12 tournament bracket, and if I only see 9 of the teams. I'm a little surprised. Is it because TCU is 10th and there's nowhere to slot them? Anyway, Oklahoma State versus Iowa State is the 8-9 game. I don't really... The winner gets Kansas, who's the 1 seed. I don't see either Oklahoma State or Iowa State really making a run. Texas and Texas Tech now. Big game for these 2 teams. Both of them are kind of sitting in bubblish territory. If Texas Tech wins, I think Texas moves out. Texas wins, they get a chance to play the winner of K-State and Iowa State or Oklahoma State, which is probably going to be Kansas anyway. Yeah, you know what? That's an interesting fact too. I'm looking at this. Am I just missing something, or is both Kansas State and TCU not playing each other? Wow. There's like this big empty block here at the bottom. That's interesting. I'm sorry if it's distracting, but damn, I'm missing something. All right. Well, then. So, Texas and Texas Tech. Then we have Oklahoma at 3, and West Virginia's a 6. Texas is a 4. On the bubble, West Virginia's in, and Texas Tech is considered in. That's interesting. Well, Oklahoma and West Virginia play. I think Oklahoma needs to secure that win against West Virginia to really lock themselves in, especially because they lost. No, that was another amazing game on Saturday. I thought TCU was going to pull off the upset, and they should have. They were up big, and then I wish I could remember the kid's name off the top of my head. But the kid from Oklahoma scored 41 points, including like this beautiful drive down the lane too, right at pretty much the buzzer. I mean, save that one. I'll tell you that much. Okay, so Oklahoma, West Virginia. I mean, have they slipped down to a level? I don't know. And then Baylor's the 2. So locks are Kansas, Baylor. I think Oklahoma is a lock. I know I said that they need the win against West Virginia. I think West Virginia's in. Texas Tech and Texas. If Texas Tech wins, I think Texas falls out. And Texas Tech, I mean, look, I know I'm going to say a lot of teams that should be in versus aren't in. You know, I think Texas is going to be. I think Texas Tech is. See, where? You know what? Real quick, I need to see a bracket because I need to see where Texas Tech is. I just happen to have a bracket open here. Where is Texas Tech? All right, Texas is considered a last 4 bye with Rutgers, Stanford, and UCLA. Now, mind you, this was put up yesterday, with the only major change being that Cincinnati was moved into Tulsa's spot, and Bradley is locked in there. Let me update the bracket because I didn't update it. Yep, that was from the 6th. I'm sorry. Last 4 byes are now Marquette, Arizona State. Okay, there's Texas Tech. Texas Tech is one of the last 4 byes, so that game almost feels a little bit winning in then for those teams. So that's going to be a key game to watch. All right, let's move on to the next major college conference tournament, and that will be the Big East, and this is a big one for Xavier. Xavier's right there on the bubble as well. All right, so Georgetown got screwed against Villanova. Not going to bring that up. They are an 8 seed. St. John's is a 9. Okay, so even though it's blank down here, I know there's a game there, and that game is the Xavier and DePaul game. Okay, so if we go back, it looks like there are games down at the bottom of that bracket. They're just not loading for some reason. But I know for a fact that that's the Xavier-DePaul game. Now, Creighton's the 1. They're in, obviously. Providence is a 4. I think they're in. Butler's a 5. I think they're in. Seton Hall is a 3. I think they're in. Marquette, if they lose to Seton Hall, is going to sweat it out. Villanova's the 2. They're in. Xavier is going to be playing DePaul. Xavier's the biggest question mark team in here. If they beat DePaul, I don't think that really enhances their chances. I don't think it enhances their chances. But a win against Villanova would. The problem is Xavier for the past couple of years has not played Villanova very well at all. I really do think that if Xavier wants to get in, I think they're going to have to beat Villanova, and I don't think they're going to. So I don't think they need to beat Seton Hall or Marquette's winner, but I do think they would need to beat Villanova for sure. right now I have Xavier on the out. So that's what I think with that bracket. Okay. Let's go to the ACC. And this one is a weird one. Oh, wow. They actually have, like, all the stuff here. That's a big bracket. That is a big old bracket. This is a weird one because there are 2 teams missing, I believe. Yes, okay. So, because Georgia Tech is in a postseason ban, it costs the University of Miami as well, because that would have been the first round matchup there. But you know, it's iffy there. So none of those teams I think would have made a run, which makes me sad for Nazir Brooks. He transferred out to Miami. Wasn't a good year for them. The ACC as a whole feels a little weird this year. All right, so as far as seeding is concerned, Florida State's the 1. They're locked in. Virginia's the 2. They're locked in. Louisville's the 3. They're locked in. And that was another hell of a game, that Virginia and Louisville game. And then Duke is the 4. They're locked in. NC State is a very interesting case. Now, I think they're likely to get in. But the one thing that they cannot do if they want to make it in is lose to the winner of Wake and Pitt. That would be disastrous for their chances. Number 6 is Syracuse. Now, this is where we start talking bid stealers. Syracuse has potential to win games and potentially work their way up into a bubble spot. The same thing with Notre Dame. Now, both Syracuse and Notre Dame are very inconsistent. However, legendary coaches for each team know how to get it done in conference tournaments. There's no reason why they couldn't go on a magical run. Clemson. Oh, no, wait, there's Miami. I'm missing something. I'm silly. Anyway, Clemson and Miami. That's the 8-9 matchup. I don't see any of those teams getting by Florida State. Virginia Tech. Now, here's another one. Virginia Tech versus UNC. UNC is the 14 seed in this tournament. Okay, no, the BC's the 10. What is going on? Who's the 15? Who would have been the 15? I'm confused. Excuse me, I need to look this up because it's going to bother me otherwise. UNC is an interesting case. UNC, no, okay, Wake Forest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Why did I think there were 16 teams in the ACC? Okay, that answers my question. Okay, so UNC could have been a team with a first round bye. The thing with them is they lost so many games where they were up in the second half, and not even just the second half, the last 3 minutes and 2 minutes, and they've only just seemingly figured out how to win games. And they played pretty well against Duke in that game. Roy Williams is a Hall of Fame coach. Now, do I think that they're going to go 4 games in 4 days, or 5 and 5? What would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, do I think that they're going to win 5 games in 5 days? No, not at all. Believe me, I do not firmly believe that one bit. But I do think that they're going to potentially play a thorn in people's sides. So I think they're going to get by Virginia Tech. That Syracuse matchup becomes really interesting, and Syracuse is one of those teams that knocked off UNC essentially buzzer beater style fairly recently until North Carolina got on a little bit of a roll. So there's potential there. Louisville is a spot where I could also see UNC pulling off an upset. After that, you're probably going to play Virginia, though. I mean, again, if they play typical North Carolina basketball, I'm going to be interested to see where it goes. That Florida State-Duke potential semifinal matchup interests the hell out of me, though, because Florida State plays hell amazing defense. But the locks I can tell from this team are Florida State, Duke, Virginia, and Louisville. NC State's a maybe, and Notre Dame and Syracuse are potential bid stealers for me, in my opinion. All right, let's see. Next conference is probably going to be the Big Ten, I'd imagine. Nope, don't refresh. Silly goose. All right. Let's see. Conference USA, Southland, the WAC. What's the WAC bracket? Who's even the one in the WAC? I do have a question. New Mexico State. So I do have a question, and it's a weird question. As far as I knew, the WAC was the Western Athletic Conference. I have a very big question. One of the teams in this tournament is the Chicago State Cougars. And I have a question. Is there like a Chicago State outside of Illinois that I don't know about? Because what is a school in Illinois doing in a Western Athletic Conference? I mean, New Mexico State, California, Rio Grande. I mean, all these teams just scream West Coast. Am I missing something about Chicago State? I'll have to look that up later, but that's just my question of the day. All right. Next up is the Pac-12. That's another big one. That's another very important one. All right, Pac-12. The one is Oregon. They're in, no questions. Oregon State and Utah is the 8-9 there. Actually, no, let's do this the classic way. The one is Oregon. They're in. The 2 is UCLA. Now, I know they're considered the 2 seed in the tournament, and that should be a better path for them. However, they've only gotten there because they've been so hot. If they cool off, like they got beaten by USC on a buzzer beater. That was another one of those just out of this world games. So impressive. Okay, that's where they stand there. So there are maybe the 3 seed is Arizona State. Now Arizona State, let me take a look at the bracket there too, because I do have a question about Arizona State. Where is Arizona State? Arizona State is on a last 4 byline. That's very interesting. So I think Arizona State's in. I wouldn't call it a lock. I'll say in though. Where is Pac-12? Okay. So Arizona State's the 3. I think they're in. USC is the 4. I also think they're in. Now, it'll be interesting because USC and UCLA, they'd have to go all the way to the finals to meet, but, UCLA is going to have if Stanford wins, UCLA is going to have a tough game against Stanford. That also is a rivalry game. The 5 is Arizona. It's believed that they should be in. The 6 is Colorado, and Colorado's one of those teams that has kind of faded late, and they may be playing their way out, especially if they lose against Washington State. I think if Colorado beats Arizona State, though, that would really solidify them. And the 7-10 game is Stanford and Cal. I don't see either of them going all the way. Stanford, though, is playing for their tournament lives. So if Stanford beats Cal and beats UCLA, maybe you bump UCLA out, put Stanford in. Maybe. But I do think that if we look at it from a perspective of if Stanford either loses to Cal or UCLA, I think that puts them on the outside as far as I'm concerned. Okay, that's Pac-12. I know we're okay, we need to do the A-10 because the A-10's got bid stealers too. I know I'm sort of speeding along. It's been 41 minutes. I know I just had a little bit of chicken. I'm getting hungry though. And it's Bloomin' Monday, so I kind of want to get out to Bloomin' Monday. All right, so the 1 seed is obviously Dayton. The 2 seed is Richmond. Richmond's one of those teams that needs to make a run to get in. Rhode Island is also the 3 seed there. They need to make a run to get in. St. Louis is the 4. There's people making some arguments for them. I don't think I have a strong one. I'm not going to go into the lower level teams there. We need to talk about those 4. Dayton is a lock. Dayton might just be if Dayton wins their conference tournament, 1 seed. I do firmly believe that. Richmond. Richmond is an interesting case, as is Rhode Island. If it holds serve, they're going to meet in the conference semifinals. And you could almost argue that that's going to be a play-in game, especially for Richmond. Richmond's like right there. Now, I'm going to be interested to see, let's say Cincinnati and Richmond both make it to their, let's say Richmond goes to their conference finals, loses to Dayton. Cincinnati makes it to the conference finals, loses to Houston. Where would that put them is my big question. So Richmond is a potential bid stealer, as is Rhode Island. If either of them win the tournament, I still think Dayton gets a 1 potentially. They're at least going to be no worse than a 2. All right, SEC. SEC is going to have number 1 UK. They're locked in. Number 2 Auburn. They're locked in. 3 LSU. Locked in. Then it gets a little interesting. Mississippi State is the 4 seed in the conference. But they're sitting as part of Lenardi's next 4 out right now. But if they play well in the tournament, maybe get to the semifinals, lose to Kentucky, that might be enough to put them over the hump there. UK is locked in. Let's see. 5 is Florida. They should be in. The 6 is South Carolina. This is where we're starting to get to teams where we're talking bid stealers. 6 is South Carolina. I don't think they're good enough to go all the way. It would be a mega upset if they do, but it would be bid stealing. After that, I think it's pretty clear cut that I don't think we're going to see these teams go on. Texas A&M and Missouri is the 7-10. Vanderbilt and Arkansas is the 14-11, and Ole Miss and Georgia is the 12-13. I don't see any of those teams making runs all the way. Let's see. We're almost done there, guys. We've got 2 more to cover, the American and the Big Ten. Let's do the American first. Cincinnati's the 1. They're still very on the bubble. The way I look at it, I think Cincinnati, I'm not going to say they're locked in. I think they should be in. Especially getting the 1 seed overall, being a co-champion in the American Athletic. But they cannot lose to the winner of UCF and USF. In those cases, you would get a team that beat you in double overtime and a team that you had to come back with from many down. Let's see here. The Wichita. So Houston got the 2. I think they're definitely a lock. Tulsa's the 3, and this is the one that keeps wavering. I don't know. I mean, I think Tulsa should be in. And then Wichita is the 4. They're a team. If they advance past the winner of Connecticut and Tulane, and then beat Cincinnati, I think they take Cincinnati's spot. I think if Cincinnati beats the winner of Wichita and whoever they play, Cincinnati should get a lock-in spot. The first day games, UCF, USF, winner gets Cincinnati. I don't think either of those teams are going to win the tournament. Connecticut. Now, Connecticut's a sleeper team. Connecticut has been playing very tough to out. And as evidence, good teams go into UConn and lose. Cincinnati lost an overtime game there when they had their stretch of like 4 straight. Houston went to UConn, lost. Wichita goes to UConn, loses. Memphis goes to UConn, loses. Now this is a neutral site far from Connecticut, and that's going to take away that home court advantage. But sleeper program, and they play Tulane. Winner against Wichita. Memphis, East Carolina gets Tulsa. That could, if Memphis goes on and beats ECU, which they should, and beats Tulsa, Tulsa's out. Just based on the bracketology setup. SMU and Temple then play. SMU can be a tricky out for Houston. Excuse me. SMU will be a tricky out for. SMU would be a tricky out for Houston. Temple, I mean, they took Cincinnati to the brink. What a hell of a game. Let's finish it up, though, with the conference that has 10 teams in, but a total of 14, the Big Ten. Yowie wowie. All right. The 1 seed is Wisconsin. Lock them in. The 2 seed is Michigan State, who is on fire right now. Maryland is the 3, and they've had 2 pretty good games so far, Michigan State and Maryland. Number 4 is actually Illinois, and I was a little surprised with that one. They are sneaky. Let's see. Now, who's the 5? The 5 is Iowa. We're pretty sure they're in. The 6 is Penn State. They're in. Where's 7? 7 is Ohio State. They're in. The 8-9 game is where you start getting some interesting thoughts. 8 is Rutgers, 9 is Michigan State. And I do think Rutgers should be in. If they beat Michigan, I'm pretty sure they get in. I don't know what it means for Michigan because there are people who think Michigan is solidly in the field, and I'm just not sure. They had that great run in the beginning of the year, so they have very good neutral site wins. I don't really want to see the 9th place team in the Big Ten in the big dance, though. Number 10 is Purdue. And we're starting to get to this point where I'm sitting here going, this is kind of one of those situations where I'm like, I don't love Purdue because they've got a losing record in the conference. And I don't want to see them in. Indiana's the 11. They got a lower seed than Purdue, and they're above Purdue in the bracket standings. Indiana, unless you make a run, you're out. They play Nebraska, so they better win that game. The 12-13 is Minnesota and Northwestern. Minnesota fell off the bubble. fairly recently. I think that buzzer beater they lost against Maryland kind of was like the straw that broke the camel's back there. So the way I see it, I don't really see a bid being stolen here, because I think it's going to be this tournament's going to be won by a team that was already going to be in the field. So I don't really think I don't think there's a team good enough to really steal a bid that isn't teetering right there. Maybe Michigan and Rutgers, but I don't think they're gonna go all the way, especially because they don't have the double buys. But that does it for our conference tournament preview. I made 3 picks. I wanted to make a 4th. I didn't really see what some of these other semifinal games were tonight. Now, tomorrow there's a lot of finals, so there will be some picks and some opportunities to make some money for charity tomorrow. But in review, we're going to pick Eastern Tennessee State to beat Wofford, St. Mary's to beat BYU, and Gonzaga to beat San Francisco. The only game that would really you know what? The only game that wouldn't shock me as far as an upset is concerned, and even though it's a 2-3 game and BYU's the 2, so it technically would be an upset, a 2-3 game, if a 3 beats a 2, I don't really think upset there would be if BYU beat St. Mary's, but the other 2 games would be shockers to me. Anyway, that's all for this show. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the tournament games tonight for your conference, whether you be watching the SWAC or the West Coast Conference, or the SoCon. Until next time, have a great night, and I'll see you later.